Well, welcome to Mystical Crystals. All the pretty shiny things. Uh, that's my intro, Jamie. What you got?
It up. Oh, I like the ones that sparkle too. I have to tell you something funny. So the size of the crystal really doesn't matter. It's completely aesthetic. Like it's some human convention that we have that tells us that, oh, the bigger the better, right? So so I get crystals from a friend in Colorado who goes to all the shows, and like she's always in the know, and she's got the smallest hands ever. Like, I'm pretty sure that my 4-year-old niece has bigger hands than she does. And I have huge hands. Most of you probably know I'm 6'3", so like I'm not petite in any way. So she sends me a picture of these crystals. I'm like, oh, that's huge. That's amazing. I get it. It's like this big.
Oh, because it's in her hand.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So really, the point of my ramble was size doesn't always matter when it comes to crystals. So
it doesn't always matter until it does. Right? There's exceptions to every rule. And for the most part, size is not important, as it's because it's what matters is the vibration of the crystal. And so even if you just have a little piece of it, it's still going to carry the vibration. Now, if you've ever been like to a gong bath, you know that a small gong has a vibration and the bigger gong has a bigger vibration. And so it's kind of like that. But yeah, you're still going to get the same from a little bitty one that you are a great big one.
And I feel like people get what they need, not always what they want.
Absolutely. Yeah. So true. So very, very true.
Speaking of that, I'll share my story about the crystal that I have with me today. One of my friends has a sister who crossed over, I don't know, probably 5 years ago. And I knew both of them in their physical form. So I'm kind of an easy gateway for Deb to pop through and say something often inappropriate, which makes me really like her even more than I already did. So on Friday night, Deb kept telling her sister, Jamie needs one of my crystals. Deb had quite a collection in her lifetime, and her sister has taken them. So her sister's like, I have no idea why or what's going on, but Deb tells me that you need this. So she brought me this smoky quartz, which, you know, in my crystal dealer's hand would look like a boulder. But it's really, a couple of inches by another couple of inches. And this stone clearly was important for me to have. So I have brought it with us to have our conversation today, even though I didn't go looking for it. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have picked it if I had a whole display to choose from. It's a beautiful stone and the vibration is incredible, but we're very caught up in how things look, not necessarily how they function for us or how they feel. So the stone finds you, whether you're aware of it.
Even when you're shopping for them, they still find you.
Yeah.
Because you can walk into a big store full of stones and crystals, and the one that's right for you will still find you because it'll draw you in.
I often feel overwhelmed when I walk into a big store of crystals and stones.
I sometimes get really disappointed because there's all these pretty things and like none of them are speaking to me, and I'm like, but I wanted a new one today. I'm like, but none of you are wanting to come home with me.
Yeah, right. I've been there too.
Uh, so let's talk about why crystals are important, what they do for us, how it works.
Sounds good to me.
So I'm the science geek, so I'm going to give you a little of the science without getting all like science termy on you. How about that? So the reason that crystals and stones work is because everything has its own vibration. It oscillates and creates its own vibration. Every cell of your body also oscillates at a specific vibration. So when we take the vibration of a crystal or a stone and we introduce it into the cells of our body, they come together and affect one another and begin to create a whole new field of vibration. That's why sometimes something feels really good to you because it creates resonance. The two vibrations come together and they sound good together. Just like if you were going to put two musical instruments together and they sound good together. And sometimes they don't feel good because it creates dissonance. So it creates that, like when you play two chords that just don't work together and it like you just cringe because it hurts. Yeah,
Totally like,
yeah. It's that. So whenever we bring something, and this applies to crystals and stones, but it really applies to everything because everything carries a vibration. So when you bring that vibration into your field of vibration, you're either going to create a resonance or a dissonance. That's why we can each pick up the same crystal or stone, like selenite. And for me, selenite is an amplifier. It amplifies energy, it cleanses, to me, it has a very crisp, clean, high energy. And I feel it that way, but somebody else might pick it up and it might totally like make them all sleepy and have a completely different impact for them.
and I also feel like selenite, for example, is affected by where you're at in mood, development, vibration. Anthony went through a rough phase when he was about 14. And any of you who have heard my tales of Anthony, I'm sure you'll understand. And I had selenite over every door in the house. Every time Anthony walked through the door, the selenite fell off. He has since made friends with it because he's matured and he's, figured some of his shit out, not all of it, but we're all in that process anyway. So now he likes selenite and it's not repelled by him. So
literally, physically.
yes.
But that's a great example because if you think about like a crystal glass and how a certain pitch, a certain vocal pitch can actually shatter the glass. It's kind of like that. When we bring those two vibrations together, they're either going to work together or they're going to create a little bit of a storm. Yeah. And it can change over time because you change over time. You physically change, you literally grow a new body. Every cell in your body replaces itself every 7 years. So you literally become a new person. Your emotional maturity changes, how you're dealing with things, how you're carrying yourself. Like all of that switches and changes. So your relationship to crystals and stones can shift over time, just like with Anthony.
Right.
Yeah. So there's our little science corner.
I'd also like to touch on the memory of crystals. So all of us have heard LCD displays. That stands for liquid crystal display. So quartz crystals are literally ground up and put into our electronic devices because they have an incomparable ability to recall or be imprinted with data. Satellites have crystals. I mentioned our TVs, phones, like crystals are in things that you may never expect crystals to be in, because even though we don't have a lot of visibility around the research that's been done with crystals, it's dynamic, and that research has proven that you can program a crystal with a certain vibration or intention or set of data and recall that. The crystal has the capacity to recall that and provide that information back to someone accessing the vibration of the crystal.
Yeah, crystals are literally running our world these days.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, if you think of all your devices and everything, crystals are at work everywhere.
Like, you're probably watching us on crystal.
Without a doubt, you're watching us on crystal.
So it's pretty interesting to see that it's not just a woo tool. Like, it exists in mainstream everything. And some of the principles that we use in our metaphysical practice are the same principles that it's used for in everyday items. I think that's kind of fascinating.
I love it. I think it's really cool. You can trace the use of crystals so far back. I mean, if you can look at the pyramids, the great pyramids all over the world are made from specific stones and crystals for a reason, to amplify energy and do different things. We don't even have the capacity to understand all of that at this point. We've lost that wisdom, and we're trying to get it back.
Did I ever tell you about the time I told a doctor I was going to duct tape voodoo dolls and crystals to my knee?
No, Jami. But now I need to know.
I was a college athlete. I didn't take care of myself. I abused my body, so I have a bad knee. And he said to me, by the time you're 50, you're going to have that knee replaced. And I'm of the opinion that, I don't want to give up my parts. I don't want you to take my gallbladder. I want to keep it. I want to keep my knee. I'll do what I can to make it good. So I literally said to the guy, I'm like, nah, I'll just duct tape voodoo dolls and crystals to it. I'll be fine.
Oh my God. I love it.
I said that in jest, but there's actually something to it.
Right.
The healing vibration of the crystals is really powerful.
Agreed. It is incredibly powerful. Yeah. I use rhodonite to help with bruises. And you can Google and find pictures online of where you place a piece of that on a bruise, and then later you can actually see the difference between where that stone was placed and the rest of the bruise. I wasn't planning ahead, or I'd have had some pictures to show you, but you can Google it and find it for yourself.
Right. I've actually put amber on poison ivy.
Oh, so I've never tried that.
And it was, I want to test things. So I had poison ivy on both arms. I put an amber bracelet, and amber's one of those that you find a lot of synthetic amber or like replica amber. So I just caution you to be aware of that. And I'm particular about having real, authentic stones. So I had an amber bracelet, and I wore it on one wrist, and I wore nothing on the other wrist. The arm where I wore the amber bracelet healed in a day. The other one took a week.
I love experiments like that.
Right?
Where you just test it out for yourself and you're like, check this out, right? Yeah. So good. And there's so many resources out there. I mean, some of my Trying to think, what are some of my favorite crystals? We already talked about selenite. I love selenite. I literally have selenite all over my house. I have gridded my house with selenite. Maybe we should talk about gridding quick.
Sure.
So when I talk about gridding my house, gridding is basically creating a map or a grid using crystals and stones to create a certain vibration. And you can use all kinds of, you can use a fancy grid that's already like pre-printed with some sacred geometry or something on it. Or you can use a triangle or a square or anything like that. Or you can just trust your intuition, which is how I like to grid. I just kind of, my intuition tells me, hey, put this here and put this here. And every now and then I'm guided to move some things around. So you can create a grid like that. And just like, when you bring a vibration into another vibration, basically what you're doing is you're creating vibrational meeting points that enhance the energy, that create a grid of energy to keep your space at a certain vibration. So you can grid your home, you can grid your lot of where you live by putting crystals at the corners or around the edges. And you can also create grids for specific things. So I'll create a little grids to help with things. So my brother-in-law makes fun of me all the time. I love him, he loves me, and he makes fun of all the woo-woo. But when he and my sister went to sell their house, he called me up and invited me to come over for dinner. He's like, hey, I'm, gonna fire up the grill. Oh, awesome. Like, he's a really good cook, so I love it. Especially when it's a dinner I don't have to prepare or clean up after, right? And then he's like, okay, so come on over, and maybe if you want to try some of your like witchy woo-woo, crystal magic-y, gritty stuff to help us sell our house before you come over, that'd be cool. I was like, oh, okay. Right, we make fun of it all of the time, but they were having they really wanted to get the house sold. And so I was like, all right. So I set up a little grid and put crystals on it and set the intention that they would find the right family to come in and purchase their home, and that it would happen very quickly, within a week. So I set that up and I put my crystals on it and charged it up. So you got to charge it. You have to set the intention and then kind of just feed it some energy and intention every day. That's how you work with a grid. And so then I went to dinner and I kind of casually, yeah, I set that grid up for you. And he's like, oh, I was just joking. And I'm like, yeah, well, I did it.
Sure.
So your house should sell this week. And he's kind of like giving me this look like, not really sure how to, like, what to do with that, but okay. And yeah, their house sold within 48 hours.
And he was like, yeah, that thing Robin didn't work, but you do it the next time too. Just,
right,
just because I know you like to.
But yeah, the next time that they need hey, maybe you could set up one of those kind of woo-woo, witchy, crazy,
Yeah, well, this one's gonna take at least 2 dinners and probably a brunch too then.
Right, the price has gone up. Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories though, about using a crystal grid to draw in the right energy, right? Because that's what it's doing, is setting up a crystal grid to create a vibration to draw in a certain energy. Now you have to actually, the house actually has to be for sale, and you have to actively be, like, there has to be some action to back it up.
Right, you have to be a participant in it.
Yes. You can't just set up the crystal grid to create something and then never take any action towards it. It works with your actions, not independently of.
Right. We actually gridded this property. So we bought it a couple of months ago. It's been in my family for well over 100 years. I think we're going on 130. But it just didn't feel like mine
Mm.
because it's, my grandma's house and my uncle's house, and it just didn't feel like mine. So we went to each corner of the property and put rose quartz, and I had this incantation, I guess is a good way to put it, that my husband and I said, and we were very intentional about claiming the property as ours, not as owners, but as custodians and caretakers, because that's how it feels right to us. So there's no prescribed, this is what you say. It's whatever the vibration is that corresponds with your intention.
Yeah, so you can really be creative and just follow your own intuition, and whatever speaks to you, whatever feels right, however it comes to you, like it's perfect. It's mostly just like take the rules and set them aside and create. Allow yourself to be creative and to co-create with those crystals and stones that you're working with, and let them tell you where they want to go. Let them speak to you about who wants to participate, because they will. You'll get a feel for it, you'll get a sense for it, you'll get a knowing. They might actually talk to you. But it really is a co-creative process.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I love the permission of setting aside the rules. I had a conversation yesterday about being in the box, outside the box, and I go, why not just burn the box? Like,
we don't need a box. Get rid of the rules. That's where we get hung up, is we think that's where the bigger is better comes from, is it's like there's these rules that, but it really isn't like that. It's really a process of co-creation, and when you just let yourself kind of fall into that, it's that's where the magic is. And
yes.
that's where I think people hesitate a lot of times. A lot of my students have told me they hesitate because they want to know the rules. They want to do it right. There's
All the
no
time.
wrong way. That's what I really want to get across, is the only wrong way is to not engage, to not try, to not, right? Because you'll find out, because you'll set a grid and it's either gonna feel right or work right. And if it doesn't, then just tweak the recipe a little bit.
Yeah. And it's okay to need to be reminded that there is no wrong way, because we're still working through this human lens that tells us, oh, you have to be right. Like, you're going to get in trouble if you're wrong. It's not the case.
Yeah, no. Oh.
So did you get any questions from anybody who couldn't attend today with us?
I didn't
Roxanne
get
just,
any questions in advance, no.
Roxanne said, my kids tease me because they collected rocks as kids and I would tell them to stop. Now I collect rocks and even pay for them. I replied, but mine are pretty. Well, the interesting thing is that all of the rocks that your kids or you collect have a vibration. So I would be fascinated with what rocks your kids were drawn to and what about those rocks they liked and wanted to bring home and share, and see how that compares to what you're attracted to in a rock, other than the pretty, because we like the pretty. But if you take a rock from somewhere, you bring that vibration with you. Mm-hmm. So there are sacred sites that you don't want to take rocks from, because that's not an acceptable practice. It's like at odds with the energies of the earth. I mean, is that over dramatizing that?
No, but I mean, Hawaii, you don't bring pieces of Hawaii home with you, right? And I'll age us a bit, but remember the Brady Bunch example show where they brought like the idol home and had all kinds of bad luck. It's that kind of thing. Like, ask permission when you're in a sacred site. Ask. That's and remember that if every one of us brings a rock home from these places, there's not going to be anything left of these places. So it's always a trying to maintain the harmony, right? We never take more than what we need. Keep in harmony with the earth. Yeah.
Awesome. So some of the other things about rocks or crystals that I'd love to talk about are the frequencies of them and how they correspond with different chakras, for example. What's your favorite root chakra stone, Robin?
Ooh, root chakra. I have a big chunk of black tourmaline.
Mm.
And that one is when I first started going out and doing psychic fairs and stuff, I would get so freaking high because I was, up here connected, plugged into spirit all day, and I wasn't grounded. And so I had that tourmaline helped me stay grounded. It just felt so good and heavy. And I don't need to do that now, but when I first started out, I needed something that would give me that like grounding energy. And so tourmaline, that black tourmaline, that's my go-to. And then I have a big palm stone that is what is it? It's now I'm gonna forget what it is. It's got some tiger's eye in it and something else.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, but anyway, it's the dark reds and the earthy tones and the weight of the stones, like how they feel to me. Those are the root. How about you?
My favorite is obsidian.
Ooh, I have a pretty.
Ooh.
I use obsidian a lot in shamanic work. So obsidian is used to help remove crystallized deposits of energy.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. Like, I want to go roll around with my obsidian in the grass. Is that not appropriate?
Well, I don't judge.
So really every intention you have and chakras have a whole universe of corresponding stones or crystals that are available. And you can program a clear crystal point to any vibration.
Right. And for any intention.
Yes.
And when you can also clear it and reprogram it. It's a co-creative process. So it's simply about working with the crystal and asking the crystal to do what, asking the crystal if it's willing to participate and do what you ask. Setting
yes. So what's your favorite heart chakra stone?
Oh, you can't beat pink quartz. I love pink quartz, and I would say green calcite. I love calcite. Calcite just has this smooth, buttery feel to me, and I just love it.
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, I had never put that description with it, but it's really accurate.
Smooth like butter.
I like green aventurine too.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
And then, I mean, we could go through all the chakras and they all have really cool stones, but what's your favorite third eye?
That's got to be amethyst.
Hmm.
And I especially like to combine amethyst with clear quartz and selenite. Like that combination of the three is really opening for me.
Cool.
How about you?
So I actually use lapis for
Ooh,
third eye and throat chakra because for me, the energies are related. So in order to find the balance between them, I use that stone for tapping into both energies. But I also love amethyst. I have one of those like cathedral point amethysts. Do you know what I mean?
mhm.
But I often put it on my third eye. I have to lay down because the vibration will make me fall over.
Yeah, I have this little amethyst point that I'll lay down and put right there.
Yeah. So of course I got Anthony one. And, and his was the same way. He was like, whoa, this is worse than any tilt-a-whirl I've ever been on.
Oh, yes.
I like those little points because they're small, so you can easily stick them in your pocket, in your purse, wherever,
Mhm,
but they're so powerful being double terminus.
mhm. Definitely. Yeah. And I have a piece, a nice clear crystal quartz that I carried with me throughout Peru when I was going from sacred site to sacred site.
Ooh,
So it's one of my favorites to meditate with and work with because as we moved around, it picked up the energies from all of those places. So it's
right.
that, yeah, I love that one.
That's awesome. Um, are you able to differentiate the energies, or is it just like an amalgamation of all of the powerful energies together?
Yes and yes. So yes, it holds all of it. And if I want to connect with a specific place, um, all I have to do is ask. And it's like, yeah, it helps me connect right back
Awesome.
into that spot.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So what other stones do you like? Let's say somebody is just starting out and they only have access to a couple of stones. What ones would you recommend people start with?
Clear crystal quartz because you can use it for anything and everything. So clear crystal quartz, probably um obsidian is a really good one because obsidian is also very protective. So it's grounding and protection. Um, and it's easy to find. I mean, obsidian is literally like lava rock, right? So it's these are also stones that are really easy to find. Rose quartz, because I've not found anybody that doesn't find rose quartz to feel to bring in that healing energy, right? It's
Love
it's
it.
that heart energy.
Um,
Um,
the best rose quartz I ever got was this. Okay, we're back to size, but it was like it was the potency of it and the color of it. Like I feel like a lot of rose quartz you get's like kind of washed out. In this little hole in the wall mining town in South Dakota, and it was like this big. It's like a chunk of coal, except it's rose quartz. And I was like, how much is that? And the guy goes, give me $20. I'm like, do you have any more in the back?
how many can I get?
He had no more.
Oh, yeah, those three are like that's a great little starter pack. What would you add to it or change?
I would add selenite to it.
Oh yes.
And in case you don't have a lot of exposure with selenite, please don't wash it in the water because it
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
really like water.
Yeah, that's something you want to pay attention to. You don't put selenite in water. Don't put rose quartz in direct sun because it'll bleach out the pink color. So you want to, and you can find any of this information in books or online about some of that, but just kind of knowing not all stones are happy with water or sunlight. And if remember that, like if you have, I'll never forget this, like so this is a great little story, and I've seen it circulate online, right? So the woman goes to the psychic and she buys a crystal ball, a clear crystal ball, and takes it home, and the psychic is like, okay, never leave it uncovered in direct sunlight when you're not home. And she's like, oh, why? Like, what will, and she's like, it could start your house on fire, right? Because remember, it's the old magnifying glass and the sun coming through it. Remember, some of your crystals act that way. And so you want to be cautious about where you put them.
Yeah, definitely. And obsidian can be really sharp. So
Very
just
sharp.
be aware of that also.
So is quartz, like these are, you don't want to, they're very hard, sharp stones, like glass, if you're not careful. So just remember, use normal precautions. And if you're not sure, look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we have Google and YouTube and all the books and resources.
Someone said to me, I looked it up on Attorney Google. I was like, you run with that.
So Roxanne says, I told my sister after she got her first crystal, can't remember what one, to go home and cleanse it. She called me later and said, okay, I washed it with soap and water. Now what?
Well, I mean, some of them you can cleanse with water. So it's cute, but not totally off base, as long as it wasn't like a gypsum base like selenite.
It's gonna disappear in the water, right?
Right.
And I'm glad you bring that up, Roxanne, because cleansing is one of those things that I think people there's a lot of teaching out there that you have to cleanse and charge your crystals and stones. Listen, these crystals and stones have existed for millennia without us cleansing them and charging them. So you don't have to do anything for them unless you feel like you want to do that. Like if you feel like you want to put your stones out and bathe them in the moonlight, or you have a stone that like it just feels right to do that, then by all means, please do that. But know that they've been here a lot longer than us, and they're going to be just fine if you don't do anything special like that.
Yeah. Definitely.
But here, okay, so Kim, okay, funny you're talking about selenite. I'm thinking I need new. How long does selenite keep its power? Forever. So what we're just talking about is like it's not going to go away. I brought my selenite I used in my windows in my home in California. Now I've moved to Tennessee and put the same selenite in the windows. I've staged, etc. Should I get new selenite? You don't need any new selenite. But you might want to just engage in a conversation with your selenite about that we're in a new space and what it is that you're asking, and just like it's a co-creation. So moving from one space to the next space, your selenite is probably doing the same job that you asked it to do before, but there's nothing wrong with creating some ritual around the transition. And with that, it's whatever feels right to you, but you don't have to get new selenite. It's not like it's lost its power or lost its charge. It's just fine. But it's a really good question. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
There's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And I truly, if you completely disagree with me and feel very, very strongly that your crystals need to be cleansed and charged, then by all means do it. I'm not telling you you can't.
Right. So Robin and I have a less structured approach to a lot of things, but don't touch her poncho.
Well, no, that's different.
I digress.
Sorry.
I love teasing her about some of the things that, because normally we're like real go with the flow, but some things Robin is rigid and some things I'm rigid. So, you know, we all have our quirks.
Most
But
things are just fine. Yeah.
I like to just have like the easiest approach to stuff. We don't necessarily think that it's wrong to do the things that other people tell you you have to do. We just don't subscribe to the have to part.
It's the have to, because there are certainly times when I take and I will create a beautiful table and altar out in the backyard under a full moon and put a bunch of crystals out there to soak in the full moon energy. I do I feel like it has to be done? No, but do I like to do some of these things? Absolutely. And do I think that it there's a vibration and a difference? Yeah, because the full moon has its own energy and vibration, and then again, it's introducing two vibrations together. But do I actually have to take the crystals outside and do that? No, but it's part of my intention setting, and it's part of my ceremony, and it's part of my creating a ritual around it, which adds, which brings the intention in. So I like to do some of these things, but you don't have to do it.
Right.
Yeah, that's the difference. Do things because you want to, because you're called to, because it feels right, because your intuition is guiding you, not because somebody out there said you have to do it this way.
Right. You can also use the new moon energy.
Absolutely.
I like the new moon because it's a moon, it's an energy of creation. I also like the full moon because I'm really trying to release clutter, both mental and physical. So bring me the full moon.
Yeah, we both work with the moon energies a lot. And so the different phases of the moon, it's what you're wanting to collect in. Yeah.
Maybe
Does
we should
anybody
have a
have
moon.
other questions?
Maybe we should have a moon class too, where we dive into that.
Oh, that would be fun.
Kim said yes.
That would be fun. We can do that too. Yeah. Oh. Okay, so we were talking about like your starter pack of crystals and we got totally sidetracked after you said selenite. Are there others, Jami, that you would put in that like starter pack?
Did we have amethyst in there?
No.
I would add amethyst too, because that one also has some fairly universal properties that are powerful.
So some of the things that I would like for a starter pack, I would look for a grounding stone, something that helps you feel solid in your body, connected to the earth. I would look for something that like feels like it speaks to your heart, opens your heart energy. Something that kind of amplifies your ability to connect with spirit. Something that feels kind of cleansing.
And then the universality of the clear.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of bringing those energies together, and I don't know, the best way that I find is just go to a store that has rocks and crystals, and I like to pick them up and handle them and look at them. And so it's however you're drawn to them. Some I'm a feeler, so I like to handle them. I like to pick them up. Some people it's just about like their eyes, they're drawn, like your eyesight is drawn to one.
So
It can be very different. Yeah.
I also like to touch them. And I don't necessarily have a lot of access to good resources to get nice crystals all the time. Now, there are a few places where you can go, but they don't always have what I'm looking for. So I have ordered online from certain reputable places. Like I'm picky about where I order from. And I've been nervous, like, oh, what if I don't like the vibration? What if they're not the right stone? And the right ones always get to me. So however you get your crystals, just be discerning. Like,
good places to go find them. If there's a psychic fair, a metaphysical fair near you, there's always somebody, I shouldn't say always, but usually there are several vendors there with crystals and stones. Shops often have them. You can even, TJ Maxx lately has been carrying, you can go get a very reasonably priced bundle of selenite at TJ Maxx, like selenite wands. Rose quartz. The last time I was in there, I saw selenite wands, selenite towers, rose quartz. They had some amethyst and some geodes. So, I mean, they're becoming so much more mainstream that it's not hard to find them.
I got a geode recently and I was excited to go home and crack it open. And Anthony was like, no, that will sacrifice half of the rock, Mom. We're not doing that. So he made Miles take him to the hardware store and get the right pipe cutter, because the pipe cutter we had at home wasn't the right one.
I love that. Yeah, Kim, $15 for selenite wands at TJ Maxx. So absolutely, it's getting easier and easier to find some of these, to find what you need, to find what you want. Yeah.
So for people who are interested in the project Robin and I have been working on with the Mystics Academy, we're going to be using the energies of a lot of these crystals in our curriculum and courses. So it's useful knowledge to get comfortable with them now, so you're ready to dive into the curriculum with us shortly.
Absolutely. And if you're not sure, that's not a reason to not jump into the Mystics Academy and dive in, because we're going to really get into it on a deeper level of how it all works, what to use for what things. Like we're going to go deeper, but it's not like you have to have any prior knowledge to step into the Mystics Academy.
Right. It's like the summer reading list that none of us actually read, but 3 kids did.
I did.
I love
I'm that kid that did the summer reading list.
I'm the one who didn't and bullshitted her way through. So
that's why we're such a good match. If you want the summer reading list, if you're like me and you like to study ahead, go for it. And if you're like Jami, you can totally just jump right in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good.
Oh, but the Mystics Academy is really the home for people like us. It's the community and the home for, if you want to really learn how to use all of these tools, how to tap your intuition, how to really hone that skill. That's what the Mystics Academy is all about. And the community, right? And you get to hang out with us all the time. And we have a lot more stories. We're just
But these were the censored versions.
right. You'll get us uncensored completely.
So I held,
or not.
yeah, right. I held an in-person event yesterday, and the biggest point of conversation was building community and how isolated these people felt. There was one guy who came. He's from out of state. He happened to be in town visiting his mom. His mom bought him a ticket to come, and he came. And he was like, he's like, I thought I might not fit in. I thought I might be the only guy here. And I was like, no, we have a bunch of cool dudes hanging with us. And finding that community outside of his normal home, like by the end of the day, he was a completely different person. So the community aspect is super important.
Makes a big difference when you have people you can hang out with. You don't have to censor yourself, that you can talk about all this stuff, that you can ask the questions where literally no question is too dumb, because I guarantee one of us is either asked it before, come across it, or we'll go find you an answer, right? It might be one of those like, oh my God, I never thought of that.
Wait, like that's fantastic question. Let me go find out.
Yeah. But just being able to have those open conversations changes everything. Game changer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, if nobody else has any questions, anybody who is watching this before we have our ask us anything tomorrow, Monday the 29th.
Yes.
So jump on if you're around. Kim wants some information from the Mystics Academy.
Sure. I'm going to type in the chat, but the link, but you can go to themysticsacademy.com and get all the good info. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to one of us. Text, email, DM, whatever, however you need to get our attention. We're happy to have conversations and
absolutely
see if it's the right fit for you.
And if anybody has any questions for the Ask Us Anything that you won't be able to jump on, send over the questions. We'll talk about them. I know a couple people have already started sending me some questions, so we've got some fun stuff to do.
I am looking forward to that. We have never done the Ask Me Anything, so I'm really I'm excited to see what comes our way and what comes out of that. That should be fun. So that is tomorrow night, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. You should get the link for that with the follow-up video for this course. And if you don't get that link that way, I believe the link has already been sent to everybody on our email list. So if you don't have it, reach out. We'll make sure you get it.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks everybody for jumping on with us and spending some time on this afternoon or whenever you're watching.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
Bye.